You're on a project. The plan is brilliant. Everybody is doing their job. But when it's all said and done, nothing really changes. It is a very common frustration, right? Especially in software engineering. And it just goes to show that a great idea by itself is not often enough to make a real impact. I mean, you can have the most elegant architecture laid out. You can understand the problem inside out. And you can have a flawless plan on paper. But then you hit a wall. All that perfect thinking is just stuck with no meaningful change to show for it. And that really goes to the heart of the issue. An idea that just sits there, one that you don't act upon. It's basically just potential energy. It feels big and powerful, sure, but it's not actually doing anything. The real trick is turning that thought into consistent, reliable action. And that, my friends, is what we are calling disciplined execution. In this video, we are going to break down what that actually means in practice. We will look at four key concepts: why you need to focus on outcomes and not output, tracking what actually matters, the art of learning while you build, and finally, how to execute with adaptability. We will start with outcomes over output. Mature execution isn't about how busy you look or how many tasks you complete. It's measured by the actual tangible results you get. Here are some definitions so that we are all on the same page. Output is what you do, the code you wrote, or the tickets you closed. Outcome is what changed because of what you did. It can be a performance improvement or a new feature. And impact, it's why any of it mattered. For example, it reduced the time a user takes to complete a task. The best teams, they obsess over the outcome and the impact, not just the output. Imagine two teams whose job is to reduce API latency. An output-focused team, they get busy. They refactor utility classes, they optimize logging, a lot of activity. They close like 20 tickets. But the outcome-focused team, they do something completely different. Before they even think of writing code, they pause and they hunt for the single biggest bottleneck, the one thing that's causing all the pain. So, what was the result of all that busy work from the first team? After closing those 20 tickets, latency reduced by only 2%. But the other team, the one focused on outcome, who made that one single targeted fix, latency drops by a whopping 46%. It just shows that the difference wasn't about working harder, it was about alignment. Your execution really becomes reliable when everything you do is tied directly to the result you want. So, focusing on the outcome is important. But how do you make sure you stay on track? That brings us to our second principle. You have to track what matters. Because even the best laid plans will drift off course if you are measuring the wrong stuff. Successful teams fight against those vanity metrics and they ask the tough question: are we measuring actual progress or are we simply counting tickets to make ourselves feel productive? And this is a classic mistake. You have a team, they are obsessing over their sprint velocity. On the surface, everything looks great. The velocity is high, it's consistent, everyone's patting themselves on the back. But what that beautiful chart doesn't show you is that production incidents are creeping up and the on call engineers are completely burning out. Their focus on velocity was totally masking a fragile braking system. So finally, they made a change. They shifted to metrics that gave them the real picture of their system's health. Instead of just velocity, they started measuring things like stability. How fast can we recover when things go wrong? How many bugs are actually getting out to our users? And here's the magic part. As soon as they started tracking what really mattered, their behavior started to change automatically. They naturally started to favor smaller, more frequent releases. They started automating the rollbacks. Within two sprints, incident severity drops and on call stress reduces measurably. What you measure shapes where you put your attention, and your attention shapes how you execute. Okay, we are now focused on outcomes, we are tracking the right things, but still, you can totally fail if you learn important lessons way too late in the game. And that brings us to principle number three, learning while you build. It's all about validating your work against reality instead of your own assumptions. The best teams do this with short, super fast learning cycles. They make a small change, they watch how people actually use it. They check if their assumptions were right, and then they adjust. It's a simple, repeatable cycle. Change, observe, validate, adjust. And it saves you from a ton of wasted effort. Here is an example. A team is building a new workflow automation feature, and they have this one big assumption. Our users are power users, and they are going to want to create very powerful, really complex rules. Their original plan was to work for months building this incredibly complex workflow. But instead, they did something really smart. They built a really simple version and gave it to a handful of customers. And the feedback was instant. And it was clear. Most people were just making really simple rules. And the advanced stuff was actually scaring them off. So they changed their plan. They simplified everything and added helpful templates. And the result of that pivot, user adoption doubled. Just think about that for a second. The key here wasn't just that they built less stuff, it's that they learned sooner. That early feedback saved them from building an expensive, complicated feature that nobody really wanted in the first place. And that brings us perfectly to our final principle, adaptable execution. The best plans give you a clear direction, but they don't pretend they can predict the future with perfect accuracy. This is such an important mindset shift. Disciplined execution isn't about being stubborn and just sticking to a plan, no matter what. It's about being anchored to your goal, your outcome, but staying flexible about how you get there. And so, course correction is not indecision. It's not weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. It's proof that you are learning while you are in motion. Think about a team that's planning a huge database migration. Their initial plan is very risky. It's a big bang approach. They are going to rewrite everything and then flip the switch all at once over a weekend. But of course, during early testing, they start hitting all these unexpected roadblocks. Now, instead of just forcing their way through, the team adapts. They improvise. They change their plan to migrate one service at a time, running validation checks in parallel and building a rock solid rollback plan. Yes, sure, the whole thing took longer than they originally planned, but the result, zero downtime, customer trust totally intact. And that is what disciplined responsiveness looks like. So, at the end of the day, clear thinking is what points you in the right direction, but it's disciplined execution that actually gets you there. It's the thing that turns good intentions into real, tangible impact. Because great engineering, it's not just about building things correctly. It's about deliberately building the things that actually matter. So as we wrap this up, I will leave you with this one question. Are you focused on activity or are you focused on outcomes? Are you learning from reality? And most importantly, are you building things that just work or are you building systems that actually matter?